Hello, my name is Ryan Castro, and this is a presentation on the lifestyle activity of swimming and water safety as well as front crawl. A brief history of swimming. Obviously, swimming can be both individual and team-oriented, and competitive swimming is one of the most popular sports actually in the Olympics, with such events including freestyle, backstroke, butterfly, breaststroke, as well as different IMs and relays. Early evidence of recreational swimming dates back actually to prehistoric times, and there's early evidence actually dating back to Stone Age paintings from around 10,000 years ago. Lots of early pieces of literature such as the Iliad, the Odyssey, even the Bible, and Beowulf, even the Quran have depictions of swimming, competitive swimming. But only until the 19th century did it become truly popular. Some of the benefits of swimming, obviously, you have improved flexibility and strength. This is due to the eccentric and concentric movements as well as isometric that are involved with swimming, involving the kick, any type of pull, as well as stability within the core. Because of the fact that you don't or aren't able to breathe often, there's obviously a large influence on the cardiovascular system with the improvement of the heart muscles and the lungs. Because of the water, there's reduced impact on the joints. There's also the concept of increasing the one's comfort level in the water, which increases safety in all aquatic environments, whether it's in a pool or whether it's in the open water. With classes and with team elements, swimming can often build relationships and can take someone who's maybe an introvert in their day-to-day life and open them up to other individuals who have similar likes and dislikes. And swimming also promotes a healthy lifestyle with the idea of a low impact on the joints, the improvement of flexibility, and cardiovascular endurance. Swimming is a good sport, it's a good activity to get into early because you can continue that sport and the enjoyment of that sport for much longer than you would for, say, running or biking or powerlifting, for that matter. So the sequence of skills that take place in the beginning of swimming usually go with water safety, getting a really good foundation of what is allowed, what isn't allowed, what are some things that you should keep track of while you're in and out of the water or even near a body of water. Treading water is obviously the next step and is a very important step and deals with water safety. Whereas if you were to fall in the pool, if you aren't able to perform freestyle or backstroke, treading water gives you the ability to stay in one place long enough to figure out how to get to safety, or stay in one place long enough to call for help to get assistance. The next step would be flutter kicks. The kick is one of the most important steps in swimming. I always tell my swimmers that the most important thing to stroke is kicking because it's like the engine to a car. If the engine goes out, the car stops. If your kick stops, your body stops, your car stops. The next phase would be learning the front crawl, so putting all the pieces together, and that would include the arms as well as body rotation. So we're implementing the kick as well as the stroke, a nice long full pull with a good recovery. The next step is breathing, or a good breathing technique, and for front crawl we're using a side breathing technique. That's to reduce the amount of elevation of the head out of the water. The more of our body we have out of the water, the faster we are to sink, the more difficult, the more weight or load we put on our legs. So it's very important we learn that fundamental aspect of breathing, the side breathing, so that we can stay low and reduce the amount of weight we're putting on our body. The last sequence would be learning the backstroke. The backstroke is a difficult technique in that when learning the backstroke, it's very difficult to keep your body up, and that's just simply because of the placement of buoyancy on the body. I tell a lot of swimmers to keep their bellies up or their hips up, and that keeps a very neutral balance to the body and allows the swimmer to focus more on their legs and their arms as opposed to sinking below the surface. This is a layout of the front crawl. As you see, it's a nice long pull in the beginning. The stroke starts with one arm to the side, one arm out in front. As the swimmer starts to pull, as seen in slide 7, there's a bend in the elbow, and the elbow starts to bend, going through 9 to 10. As the swimmer starts to get towards their hips, the arm starts to straighten out towards 12. At that point, the left arm is coming into the stroke in order to balance out, or it's called a recovery stroke. So it's in order to continue locomotion forward. Slide 13, the swimmer is pulling or doing a recovery out of the water, back up, and it looks like they're taking a side breath as well, coming back forward to the front position, or to the number 4 position. As you can tell throughout this whole progression, the kick is continuous. Here we have 4 of the fundamental elements of the lesson plan, and that would be flutter kicks, beginning in class, as seen in the picture with the children or the athletes holding onto the wall. And there's various games that you can implement. For instance, red light, green light is a really good game to take the focus off of the sport itself and more on a game element. So on the call of the instructor for green light, the children would begin kicking. The instructor would monitor the kicks, give any feedback if possible. On the call of a red light, the swimmers or the athletes would stop. And then I usually like to throw in a few extra colors. For instance, a yellow light would be to blow bubbles. A blue light would be to blow bubbles and kick at the same time. Moving on, we have an image of a child floating on their back. This is a good indication, or it's a good example of floating. Arms are out, legs are somewhat apart. If they have an issue with buoyancy, the wider the legs are apart, usually the better, because you're displacing more weight across the surface of the water. In this instance, it looks like a lot of the buoyancy is in the midsection. As you see, his stomach's above the surface of the water, which is what we want, and the head is back in a neutral position. Down to the bottom left, the EAP, or the Emergency Action Plan. This is something that should be written up or thought up or communicated before even getting into the water. The EAP is a response plan in case there is an emergency, a drowning, anything of that nature. Moving on to the next slide is breathing. Obviously, we want to implement various types of breathing techniques, side breathing, front breathing, and what have you. So a few tips. Make sure you establish a safe learning environment. That includes utilizing lifeguards, swim instructors, and aides. Have all equipment ready at the beginning of the lesson. And then moving on to, once we're teaching the kicks or the front crawl, we want to make sure that they're fast and the kicks are between 6 to 10 inches of separation. That's in between the legs. So 6 to 10 inches between the kicks. Not too far apart, not too small. And then once we're working with the arms, we want to make sure that the arms exit the water and upon reaching out, and that once we're pulling towards the hip. The implementation of faith in Christ in swimming. There's a quote from Matthew 14:29 to 31, and it discusses that when Peter got down off the boat, he walked on the water and came towards Jesus. But when he saw the wind, he was out and afraid and began to sink. And he cried out, "Lord, save me." Immediately Jesus reached out with his hand and caught him. "You of little faith," he said, "why did you doubt?" So I use this because when you're in the water, having faith in yourself, or having faith to trust yourself, is the most important thing. And being relaxed and calm and in a calm demeanor is extremely important, not only because of the psychological factors, but also because of the physiological factors. When you're under stress and when your heart's pumping, you're actually pumping more blood into your muscles, therefore making you a little heavier. So it's actually been proven that distressed swimmers who are frantic and who are flailing and kicking very rapidly actually sink faster because they weigh more. So When you swim, don't grab hold of the water because you'll sink and drown. Instead, relax and float and trust in yourself and in Christ. Strong fundamentals to build lifelong athletes. So we're starting from the basics. We're teaching young athletes how to safely encounter the water, how to manipulate their body in the water so that they can get the most out of what they're learning. And in doing so, like I said in the beginning, swimming is a great sport, so we're creating this idea of a lifelong athlete who can continue this process in their later years. And that is my presentation. Thank you for listening, and see you later.